Hello guys, welcome back to Beyond the Realms, and today I'm going to be reviewing a documentary entitled My Amityville Horror, which came out last year, and I remember hearing about it and being very interested in watching this, and I was just looking around on Netflix, and there it was. It popped up on there, so I jumped at the chance to check this out. This is a documentary from the perspective of Daniel Lutz, which was the oldest of the Lutz kids that lived in the house where the Amityville horror happened in 1975 into January of 1976, and he has been silent on the matter and what happened during this time period for 35, 36 years. So you know. Actually, a little bit longer than that. But anyway, he's been silent. He hasn't mentioned anything about it. He's stayed out of the public eye. But for now, he's wanting to talk about it. He was wanting to tell his story, and that's what this documentary is about. It's Daniel's story of what happened. He is, at the very beginning, he talks about, how rough this is going to be on him, reliving this. For the sake of this documentary, he explains right up front, this is not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, and it's going to put him through hell because he's going to have to relive all this stuff that he spent his whole life running from. And Daniel is a guy. He plays guitar. It shows him throughout this thing playing different guitars, and he actually at one point shows him playing a Dimebag Razorback guitar, which I thought was pretty cool. But you could tell that this guy is tormented by his past and what happened. He's kind of an off-putting guy. He's kind of got some pent-up frustrations and angers, you can tell. And he attributes all of this to what happened to him when he was 10 years old living in this house. He was born in 1965, and his mother married George Lutz, and George adopted Daniel. And apparently, in this house, going back in history a little bit, before the Lutzes moved in, Robert Betheo, or Ronnie Betheo, he murdered his whole family, like his two brothers, two sisters, and his parents. They were found face down with gunshot wounds. And there's a lot of weird speculation that goes on about that because, there was no struggles, they were not drugged. And and there was no silencer on the gun, so you figure one gunshot, everybody will wake up, but they were all found, no struggles whatsoever. So some weird things happened, and then the Lutz moved in there, and of course, everybody knows the Amityville horror. All this paranormal stuff happened, and Daniel, his whole thing about this is he has a lot of hatred for his stepfather George Lutz, who's since passed away. He doesn't have anything nice to say about the guy whatsoever, and it's kind of interesting the things that are said in this because he fully blames George for what happened. Because there's been 5 families that have lived in this house since the Lutzes did, and there's been no paranormal activity, demonic possession, whatever, ever since. And, one turn in this documentary is how Daniel, he says that George was into the occult. He had a lot of occult books, satanic books, magic, witchcraft, all kinds of, just a lot of stuff like that. And there's one point where he talks about how he saw George being able to levitate objects and move objects and all this type of stuff. And, you don't know what to think about it, really. There's a lot of people involved with this documentary that was there at the actual time, like this news reporter from Channel 5 News in Amityville. She was there they took on the story. And, she comes back for this, and she's talking to Daniel throughout. Daniel's also seeing a psychologist during this time, and it shows that stuff in this documentary, too. But, it's strange because some of the stuff is just way too far-fetched for me to believe it. And also, Lorraine Warren, which everybody knows Ed and Lorraine Warren now, especially after The Conjuring. Lorraine Warren is also on this documentary. They interview her with Daniel at her house. They show the room where they have all the possessed objects like they show in The Conjuring. And, she talks very candidly about this. And, I don't doubt that there's probably some stuff that happened, but how much of it is actually true to what Daniel says or what some people say, that's where the speculation comes in. There's just too many accounts, too many, people that have experienced things that went on during this time for there to not be something that happened. But, it's like this other psychologist talks about, over time things get blurred. You remember pieces of things and then you fill in the gaps. And, she even speculates on Daniel's belief that he saw George levitating things. She says, well, maybe it's a case of George saying that to a 10-year-old kid, and in the 10-year-old kid's mind, he eventually starts to think, I did see him levitate something. Is that what happened? Did he really see something? Or, what is it? And then the case with the flies, there is a documented case of a priest coming there to bless the home. And, in the movie they show that, and then they show all the flies, and then all of a sudden, later in life, he remembers the flies too. Could it be a case of fiction and reality mixing to make this story more than what it is? Maybe not even intentionally. So, there's so much speculation with this, and like I said, I believe something probably did happen, but not like they say. There's even one part in this where they talk about Daniel's hands getting smashed in a window, and I guess he explains it to where it gets smashed so much it was flesh on flesh, like it completely separated the bones all the way across his fingers. His hand immediately swelled up, he says, to the size of a kid's baseball glove. And as they're getting ready to leave the house, and this is his words, within 1 second his hand goes back to normal. There's things like that. It's like, come on, man. That's, I like giving people the benefit of the doubt, but that is just, that takes it way out of the realm of believability for me. And it's, there's just, you just wonder, why did he decide to do this thing now? Because there's really no clear answer on that. Is it a case of him wanting notoriety now? Looking for an easy paycheck? There's all different kinds of reasons of why this could have happened. And there's people on here who say, George and Kathleen Lutz did not want the spotlight on them. But yet, when they moved from the Amityville house, they moved all the way to California, the other side of the country. Well, then they start taking up offers to do a tour and tell their story. And apparently they put Daniel into a Catholic monastery where he was given exorcisms and stuff, because he swears that at one point during this time he got possessed. And, there's things like that, that just, I don't know. You don't know what to think of it. But it's a very good documentary. I highly recommend this to people who are, not only interested in paranormal stuff, the Amityville horror case, of course, but just people who like good documentaries in general. It's only an hour and 24 minutes long, so it's short, and it is entertaining and had my attention throughout the entire running time. There was never a point where this was boring at all. I thought it was very captivating, a time frame, very captivating story. Like I said, I don't know what's real, what's not real, but there is some interesting things that happen at the end of this, where Daniel is asked by the filmmakers if he would submit to a lie detector test. I won't tell you what he says, but to me that's kind of telling on the whole thing, I think. It's kind of speaks volumes with his answer and his reaction. So, I don't know. But regardless, this is a documentary worth checking out. It is on Netflix right now. Guys, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I really, really recommend checking this out. Like I said, if you have Netflix streaming, you can check it out now. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm Jason. You've been watching Beyond the Realms. Have a good one, guys. Later.